My name is Olivia Hayes. And if someone had told me 10 years ago that I'd be sitting in a corner office on the 24th floor of a glass tower in downtown Chicago, sipping an oat milk latte while overlooking the city's skyline, I would have laughed. Or maybe cried. Because back then, nobody believed I had what it took. They didn't just doubt me, they mocked me. This morning, sunlight spilled through the floor-to-ceiling windows, catching the edge of the gold frame that held my favorite painting. I smoothed down the sleeve of my silk blouse, the deep emerald one that made me feel invincible, and glanced at the phone buzzing on my desk. A new email. Subject line: Interview request from applicants you may recognize. I clicked it open, and my chest tightened the moment I saw the names. 3 people who had once laughed at me in college. The same ones who had rolled their eyes when I showed my designs in class, who whispered that my so-called skills would never take me anywhere. And now, their resumes sat in my inbox. They were applying for positions at my company. I leaned back in my leather chair, biting the edge of my lip, half in disbelief and half in something sweeter: vindication. My manicured nails tapped against the desk in a slow rhythm, matching the steady hum of the AC. They mocked my skills, I whispered under my breath, eyes glinting at the skyline. Now, they want to work for me. I wasn't always Olivia Hayes, the confident woman with her own company. Back then, I was just Olivia, the quiet girl in the back of the lecture hall, clutching her sketchbook like it was armor. It was sophomore year at the University of Michigan. We had a group project in our design class, and I poured my heart into it. I stayed up nights sketching prototypes, blending colors, imagining a future where my designs would live beyond the pages of my notebook. But the day of our presentation, things went sideways. As I pinned my boards to the wall, my so-called teammates, Madison Clark, Tyler Brooks, and Daniel Reed, snickered behind me. Madison, with her perfect blowout and a voice dripping in sarcasm, whispered loud enough for everyone to hear, "Guess Olivia thinks she's some kind of fashion genius. Look at those sketches, like a kid's coloring book." The class chuckled. My throat tightened, my palms damp with sweat. I wanted to defend myself, but my voice caught somewhere between my chest and my lips. Tyler added, "Honestly, Liv, nobody's gonna pay for this. You should stick to something safer." And Daniel? He just smirked, shook his head, and muttered, "Dreamers don't pay bills." Their words landed like stones in my stomach. I forced myself to stand there, cheeks burning, while the professor moved on. My hands shook so badly that when I reached for my water bottle, I nearly dropped it. That night, I sat alone in my dorm room, flipping through my sketchbook. For the first time, I saw my lines blur with doubt instead of vision. I almost ripped the pages out. But then, I remembered my grandmother's voice. She'd given me this very sketchbook when I left for college. On the first page, in her delicate handwriting, she'd written, "Never dim your light because someone else can't handle the brightness." I ran my fingers over the ink, fresh tears stinging my eyes. That night, I made a choice. I would stop waiting for their approval. I would stop shrinking myself to fit into their narrow expectations. I slid the sketchbook back into my bag, zipped it up with shaky hands, and whispered to myself, "One day, they'll see." That was the night Olivia Hayes, the version of me that exists today, was born. After that night, I stopped waiting for validation. But choosing independence and surviving it were two very different things. I got a part-time job at a small coffee shop 2 blocks from campus. My shift started at 5 a.m. before classes and ended close to midnight. My hands smelled like espresso beans more than they did of ink or pencil lead. I'd wipe down sticky counters, smile at impatient customers, then hurry back to my dorm to sketch until my eyes blurred. It was exhausting. And lonely. Still, I kept at it. Sketch after sketch, design after design. My sketchbook filled up with ideas, some wild, some flawed, but all mine. I didn't post them online. I didn't brag about them. I just kept my head down and worked. One afternoon, my professor, Dr. Karen Mitchell, stopped by the coffee shop. She was in her 50s, a sharp, no-nonsense woman with streaks of silver in her dark hair. When she spotted me behind the counter, she tilted her head. "Olivia? What are you doing here?" I froze, fumbling with the lid of a to-go cup. Just working. Extra cash. Her eyes softened, and she leaned forward. Bring me your portfolio tomorrow. The next day, nervous and sleep-deprived, I handed her my sketchbook. She spent 20 minutes flipping through it in silence, occasionally raising her brows, sometimes smiling faintly. When she closed it, she said 5 words that I'll never forget. You have something. Don't waste it. She introduced me to a woman named Claire Jennings, who ran a small boutique downtown. Claire wasn't glamorous. She wore chunky glasses and practical shoes, but she believed in raw talent. She agreed to let me design a few pieces for her shop, warning me, don't expect to sell much at first. Customers can be picky. The first time one of my designs sold, I almost cried. It wasn't much, a soft lilac blouse with hand-stitched details, but knowing that a stranger saw value in my work lit a fire inside me. From there, I pushed harder. Late nights turned into dawns. My roommates partied. I sketched. Friends went on road trips. I worked double shifts. Some nights, I cried quietly into my pillow, wondering if I was fooling myself. Other nights, I felt unstoppable. When my small line began making consistent sales, Claire looked at me with a grin. See? I told you. You just needed the right audience. She became both mentor and friend, teaching me how to handle vendors, budget fabrics, and negotiate with clients. By graduation, I wasn't the girl mocked in class anymore. I was the girl quietly building something real. But here's the thing, I never flaunted it. I posted vague updates online, busy week, or exciting things ahead. But I never told Madison, Tyler, or Daniel how far I was going. Let them think I was struggling. Let them laugh a little longer. Because deep down, I knew the day would come when my silence would turn into the loudest answer of all. The email gnawed at me all day. By evening, I decided, if fate wanted this reunion, I wasn't going to hide from it. A week later, the 3 of them, Madison Clark, Tyler Brooks, and Daniel Reed, stepped off the elevator and into the lobby of Hayes Creative Group. My company. My name etched in bronze on the wall behind the reception desk. I watched through the glass wall of my office as they approached the receptionist, their polished smiles fading as they glanced around. The lobby was nothing like the cramped classrooms where they once mocked me. White marble floors reflected soft pendant lights, and framed photographs of my designs on runways hung with pride. When my assistant opened the door and ushered them inside, I stood. My emerald blouse shimmered under the lights, the same color I wore the day I first opened their resumes. Olivia? Madison's voice cracked like she couldn't believe it. You're here? Yes, I said smoothly, motioning for them to sit. I thought it would be easier if we spoke face to face. They perched on the edge of the leather chairs across from me, their eyes darting around the office, the sleek bookshelves lined with design awards, the oversized desk, the gold-framed sketch of my very first blouse, hanging like a victory flag on the wall. Tyler cleared his throat. We didn't realize this was your company. Oh. I tilted my head, feigning innocence. Then whose did you think it was? Daniel let out a low, nervous laugh. Honestly, we thought Hayes Creative was some major firm. Didn't expect. He stopped himself, but I caught it. He didn't expect me. I leaned forward, folding my hands. Well, it is a major firm. And yes, I built it. The silence that followed was thick, almost suffocating. Madison's eyes flicked to the award on my desk, Young Entrepreneur of the Year. She swallowed hard. You own all this? She whispered. All of it, I said. From the sketches to the strategy. Every inch of this office, every client we serve, it started with the very skills you once mocked. Their faces flushed, and for a moment, nobody spoke. I let the silence linger, enjoying the weight of the truth finally settling in. Tyler fumbled with his tie. Look, Olivia, we were kids. Stupid kids. You know how college is. We didn't mean anything by it. Oh, you meant it, I replied softly, my voice steady but sharp. Every laugh, every whisper, every smirk, you meant every bit of it. And I remember. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. People change. Do they? I asked, leaning back in my chair. Because from where I sit, the three of you haven't changed much. Still chasing after opportunities you didn't earn, still underestimating the quiet ones. Madison finally broke. We need this job, Olivia. The industry's tough, and you're obviously thriving. We're just asking for a chance. I let their words hang in the air, studying each of their faces. The irony was almost poetic. The same voices that once told me I would never make it were now asking me for a seat at my table. I tapped my manicured nails against the desk, slow and deliberate. Funny, I murmured, how life works. You mocked my skills. Now you want to work for me. Their expressions froze, somewhere between shame and desperation. And in that moment, I realized the power wasn't in humiliating them. The power was in making them face me as I truly was. Not the girl with trembling hands and a cracked voice, but the woman who built an empire from the ashes of their doubt. I let the silence stretch until even the ticking of the clock on the wall seemed too loud. They squirmed in their seats, waiting for me to speak. Finally, I leaned forward. You want to work here? Fine. But you need to understand something. Hayes Creative isn't just a company. It's a culture. And culture is built on respect. Something you never showed me back then. Madison lowered her eyes. Her perfectly manicured fingers twisted around each other. We were wrong, Olivia. We know that now. Maybe, I said softly. But words are cheap. If you want in, you'll have to prove it. Not to me, but to yourselves. I turned first to Madison. You were always quick to tear others down. Here, you'll be given a team of junior designers, bright, hungry, creative minds. Your job will be to mentor them, not mock them. Every critique you give will be constructive. If I hear so much as one cutting remark, you're out. Her cheeks flushed, but she nodded. I can do that. Next, I looked at Tyler. He shifted uncomfortably, as if he already knew what was coming. You told me once that I should stick to something safer. That's your problem, Tyler. You play safe. Here, you'll be handling our most experimental projects. The ones with no guarantees. The ones that could fail spectacularly. You'll have to take risks, own them, and learn that innovation means being brave. His jaw tightened, but after a moment, he gave a reluctant nod. Finally, I turned to Daniel. He had been the worst, the smirk, the dismissal, the arrogance. I held his gaze until he looked away. You once said, dreamers don't pay bills. Well, Daniel, this company exists because of a dream. So here's your condition. Every month, you'll pitch a bold idea to the team. Not practical, not safe, bold. And whether it flies or crashes, you'll own it. You'll learn what it means to build instead of belittle. His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed. Understood. I leaned back, my voice firm but calm. Listen carefully. This isn't charity. I don't owe you jobs. If anything, you owe me for every late night I spent proving you wrong. But I'm not interested in revenge. I'm interested in growth. If you're here, it's because you're willing to grow. If not, there's the door. The three exchanged uneasy glances. For the first time, I saw the arrogance stripped away, replaced with something real. Humility. Madison whispered, "We'll do it." Tyler added, "We'll prove it." And Daniel, quieter than I'd ever heard him, simply said, "Thank you." I gave a small smile. Don't thank me yet. The real work starts now. And with that, the power shift was complete. They weren't the ones mocking me anymore. They were the ones seeking guidance, accountability, and a second chance, under my rules. The weeks that followed were nothing short of surreal. I watched Madison bite her tongue in meetings, forcing herself to guide rather than belittle. At first, her feedback came out stiff, rehearsed like she was reading from a script. But little by little, her tone softened. One afternoon, I overheard her telling a nervous intern, "Your idea has potential. Let's refine it together." That single sentence almost made me smile. Tyler, the play-it-safe guy, struggled the most. His first experimental project bombed spectacularly. Wrong fabrics, messy execution, wasted hours. I thought he'd quit. Instead, he stayed late, rolled up his sleeves, and started again. Slowly, I saw him shedding the old fear of failure. One day, he brought me a prototype so daring, so fresh that I had to admit, it impressed even me. And Daniel surprised me the most. His first few pitches were lazy, half-hearted. But when I called him out, really challenged him, something changed. By the third month, he came into the boardroom with an idea so bold it silenced the entire team. For the first time, I saw humility in his eyes. Not the arrogance I remembered, but a quiet hunger to do better. It wasn't easy watching them stumble, but it was strangely healing. Each misstep, each effort, each small victory was proof that growth was possible. Late one evening, as the city lights glittered outside my office window, I pulled open the bottom drawer of my desk. Inside lay my old, battered sketchbook, the one my grandmother had given me. The leather cover was worn, the pages frayed, but her words still glowed on the first page. Never dim your light because someone else can't handle the brightness. I traced the letters with my fingertips, tears pricking at the corners of my eyes. For years, I had carried that weight, the sting of being mocked, the shame of not being taken seriously. And now, here I was standing taller, not because I crushed them, but because I rose in spite of them. Success, I realized, wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming my voice, my worth, my light. The next morning, I walked into the office to find Madison coaching her juniors, Tyler excitedly sketching a new concept, and Daniel rehearsing his pitch in the corner. They looked up when I entered, not with arrogance or mockery, but with respect. And in that moment, I knew the story had come full circle. I closed my eyes for a second, took a deep breath, and let the satisfaction wash over me. Then, in my mind, like a line spoken to the world itself, I heard the words I'd been waiting my whole life to say. They mocked my skills, but now they work for me.